Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Pastor John. It is once again so very good to see you. Look, as Christians, we all have people that we look up to, and that's a very, very good thing. In fact, the Bible, multiple times we see how different characters in the Bible looked up to other characters in the scriptures, and it's so important in all of our lives that we have people that we look up to. One of those people for me is a guy named Charles Spurgeon. I absolutely love reading Charles Spurgeon. I love his theology, I love his illustrations, and I love his big old beard. For me, in church history, I just think Charles Spurgeon is one of the most fascinating people because of the power of his preaching. I mean, he was known as the Prince of Preachers, and in fact, when we went to this BBFI conference, I did, I'll link a video up to it above, but we got to go to the Charles Spurgeon Library, and it was amazing. I mean, like, I'm going in there and I'm nerding out to the absolute max that I could nerd out. And all the guys that I was with, it was just cool to be there with a bunch of pastors looking at the life of Charles Spurgeon and seeing what it was like for him as a pastor, as he preached and as he counseled people and as he led his family. Even though he was a pastor, he still had a great time with his family, leading them spiritually. So it was just so cool for me to sit there and see this guy's, like, at this library, it was actually half of the books that Charles Spurgeon owned, and it was so cool to see, like, all of the walls covered, I mean, absolutely covered in different books. I mean, that to me is one of the things that I want to become like Charles Spurgeon. He was indefatigable. That means that he almost couldn't be fatigued. It's essentially indefatigable. He just had this unending energy and this fire within him to continue to write down things for the church and to preach the word everywhere he went. And so I'm just so encouraged. That's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel, was because of Charles Spurgeon's ability to preach a sermon on Sunday, go home and write another sermon and write out all these books. I mean, it was just amazing to see the amount of content that this man produced. And I think it's important for us that we have these kind of role models in our life. If anything, actually, chapter 11 of the book of Hebrews kind of does this for us. It's this hall of faith, and it talks about all of these amazing people that had faith in God, and they saw God move and they saw God work. And for us, as we're looking at their faith and we're reading about all of the different people in that section of scripture, it should spur us on to love and to walk with Jesus more. And so in your life, it is so important that you find somebody that you connect with. Maybe they're present, maybe they're alive still today, or maybe you can read about them in the past, but it is so good for us to have people where we can look at their lives and see how they lived, and kind of through their journals and different things that have been published, walk in the shoes that they walk. Because sometimes it's through that encouragement, through the way that they live their life, that pushes us and draws us to grow in our faith. Now, for a lot of people, they'll say, you know, how could you look up to certain people that have certain sin issues, especially if you have role models from the past? Like, look, everybody has sin issues, and people are kind of a product of the tank that they're swimming in. And so, of course, we're gonna find problems in everybody's life, but I think it's so important for us not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and to actually still, though everybody has sin issues, still look at the good things in people's lives and see what we can learn from them. Now, like I said, I really love Spurgeon's writings. I love the fact that he smoked cigars, he drank good whiskey, and he loved Jesus. Like, I love that he was that kind of person. But there is a very real danger that I see happening today, where people will have a role model, and instead of it being a role model, it'll actually become an idol. And I think that this is a problem, right? Because we don't want to idolize anybody. We want to look at Christ and worship Christ, not people, because every single person is going to let you down at some point. But Jesus never lets us down. And so how do we know? How do we know if we're taking somebody who could be a good role model in our life and turning them into an object of worship? And I think the first thing is this, that we actually start to demonize those who we once celebrated. I've seen it 1,000 times over in the church. When somebody comes into the church and they're like, hey, this is the best church I've ever seen. I love this place. There are no churches around who are as good as this church. When I see that, I know that those people who are so quick to celebrate the things that are good about us are gonna be that quick to demonize the things that are sinful in us. And so if you have a role model and they fail you in some way, and you suddenly go from loving them and being all about them to instantly demonizing them and following the trends of trying to cancel them, maybe that person was an idol in your life. I think the second thing that we can see is that if you value that person's word above the words of Christ or the words of the Bible, then there's probably some idolatry happening there. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I have grown so much by the words of Charles Spurgeon and the writings of Spurgeon, but I've grown more through my Bible. And if there's ever a day where I value reading the writings of Spurgeon over reading my Bible, I just need to check my heart in that moment and ask the Lord what's going on. Now, there are times where I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I've preached, I've, counseled people, and I just need somebody to speak to my soul without taking much interpretation. And I know because I've read through Spurgeon's writings that I can trust his writing, but I need somebody just to speak to me. Those times, I know that it's okay at those times for me to read some sermon by Spurgeon rather than reading my Bible that's gonna take steps of interpretation. But if the consistent nutrition in my life is extra biblical or words that are outside the Bible, then I know that there's an actual problem in my own heart of idolatry. And so I just wanted to make this video to challenge you. Find somebody that you connect with, whether it's in the church today or somebody in the church in the past, in church history. I mean, there's so many incredible people out there who have lived and have written down their lives and have written down their thoughts about Jesus. I just want to challenge all of us to be growing and having role models that really help us to walk the walk of faith. You need people in your life, absolutely 100%, but it's also sometimes nice to be able to read writings from people who are not in your life just to see what they were like and kind of get a different perspective on things. And so here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and comment down below, who is your biggest role model? All right, thank you guys for checking out this video. As I said, find yourself a good role model, and while you're doing that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the like button, and hit that notification bell. Guys, I love you. I am praying for you. I am actually praying for you. This community is incredible here on YouTube. I love you. Have a great rest of your day.